All right, welcome everyone. Today, we're setting off on a seriously epic spatial descent. We're going to leave the safety of the surface behind and plunge straight down into the extreme, terrifying, and honestly utterly fascinating depths of the Earth. We're going to explore exactly how far human engineering and nature itself can actually reach into the ground beneath our feet. So buckle up, because the sheer scale of what lies below us is absolutely going to change how you view our world.
So let's just dive right into this by posing what I think is the ultimate paradox of human engineering. I mean, think about it. We possess the staggering technology to send probes and rovers 55 million kilometers across the freezing, empty vacuum of space, all the way to Mars. Yet the Earth is just a fraction of that size. So why on earth, and yeah, pun absolutely intended, can't we just drill a mere 12,740 kilometers straight through our own planet?
When you compare these two numbers side by side, the distance through Earth looks incredibly tiny, doesn't it? Literally, if we somehow had the technology to dig a perfectly straight line through the center of the Earth, starting from land in India or Pakistan, that hole would pop out directly into the ocean near Mexico and Argentina. The total distance? Only about 12,740 kilometers. In the grand scheme of the universe, it's basically a short walk. And yet pulling off this underground journey remains completely impossible. Let's start our descent and find out exactly why. Let's start just below the surface and quickly drop past the layers we might actually be familiar with. At 6 feet down, you've got your standard grave. Pushing down to 13 feet, we reach the depth where Egypt's King Tutankhamun's 3,000-year-old mummy and treasure were discovered. Down at 20 feet, we hit the absolute limit of where surface metal detectors can actually sense anything. And at 40 feet, we find the deepest animal burrow on record, which incredibly belongs to the Nile crocodile. Moving just a little bit further into the dark, at 65 feet below the surface, we enter a massive, really eerie subterranean city sitting right beneath the bustling streets of France. I'm talking about the Paris catacombs. Around 6 million humans were buried here hundreds of years ago. It is a place so deeply unsettling that people literally call it the gates of hell. And wandering into these dark, unmapped underground mazes is strictly illegal. Now, what's really wild as we keep dropping is the contrast between extreme human infrastructure and nature's relentless reach. At 170 feet down, we pass Deep Dive Dubai, the world's deepest swimming pool, holding an astonishing 15 million liters of water. At 328 feet, we hit the depth where nuclear waste is safely buried away. Just below that, at 346 feet, is a Kyiv metro station in Ukraine, which is so deep you actually need multiple elevator rides just to reach the platform. And at 400 feet, we hit a biological limit, the deepest roots ever recorded, belonging to a massive fig tree in South Africa. Picture these next depths stretching straight downward into the Earth's crust. We build incredibly deep structures right under the ocean. At 790 feet down, we have Japan's Seikan Train Tunnel. At 958 feet, Norway's Ryfylke Road Tunnel holds the record for the deepest road tunnel. But here's a scary thought. Even at a staggering 1,000 feet deep, surrounded by solid rock, you still wouldn't be entirely safe from humanity's darkest inventions. That is the exact depth to which a B-82 nuclear warhead can penetrate and completely vaporize structures. 1,286. Okay. As we push past that 1,000-foot mark, the pressure and the sheer isolation start to become truly immense. That number represents feet below the surface, and it's the home of the Woodingdean Well in England. But what makes this depth of 1,286 feet so completely mind-boggling is that it was dug entirely by human hands back in 1862. No heavy machinery. It took 4 grueling years of nonstop, exhausting manual labor just to reach a water source for a local hospital. It's an amazing anchor for our sense of scale when we think about sheer human effort and endurance. 1,980. We're really dropping now, guys. We're leaving manual human digging behind and entering some truly terrifying natural depths. Down at 1,980 feet deep, you'll find the world's deepest vertical cave shaft, located over in Slovenia. Now, to visually anchor the sheer terror of an almost 2,000-foot vertical drop into pure pitch darkness, imagine standing at the very top of the Shanghai Tower in China, one of the tallest skyscrapers on Earth, and jumping off. That is the exact same distance you would fall if you slipped into this cave. Just a terrifying, continuous drop. At 2,300 feet, the Earth really starts pushing back with extreme, crushing forces. Remember the 33 Chilean miners? That harrowing true story happened right at this depth. Step 1, a massive collapse leaves them trapped nearly half a mile underground. Step 2, they're forced to survive against literally all odds for an agonizing 69 days with practically no food or water. And step 3, against the immense, crushing pressure of the Earth, a completely miraculous rescue operation manages to pull every single one of them back to the surface. All right, boom. We've officially crossed the massive 3,000-foot mark, descending steadily into the abyss. At 3,180 feet down, we finally reach the bottom of the Bingham copper mine. This is a human-dug hole of such a massive, mind-boggling scale that you could take the world's tallest building, drop it right inside, and still have plenty of room to spare above the spire. And yet, from the very bottom of this colossal pit, you can still look up and see the open blue sky. We have removed entire mountains of dirt, and yet, on a planetary scale, we've still barely scratched the crust. Let's keep the momentum of our descent moving pretty swiftly here by grouping together some massive natural wonders. At 5,387 feet, we hit the bottom of Russia's Lake Baikal, which is the deepest lake on the planet. Plunging further to 6,000 feet, we reach a depth equivalent to the bottom of the Grand Canyon. And going further down still, at an incredible 7,200 feet, we reach the absolute bottom of the world's deepest known cave, located in Georgia. But hey, humans don't just dig to extract resources. Sometimes we go down there just to have fun. At 6,213 feet, so well over a mile underground, a band quite fittingly called the Shaft Bottom Boys played a live gig on March 7, 2020 in the Creighton Mine in Canada. It firmly holds the record for the deepest underground concert ever played. Just imagine the acoustics down there, literally rocking out beneath millions of tons of solid rock. 10,300 feet. We are signaling a massive leap in depth here, plunging past the 10,000-foot barrier and entering highly engineered extreme mining territory. At 10,300 feet, we hit the bottom of the Moab Kotsong mine shaft in Africa. Think about your normal morning commute for a second. For the miners working here, it takes a terrifying 42-minute continuous elevator ride straight down into pitch black just to get to work. To give you a sensory idea of this total emptiness, if a person were to tragically fall into this shaft, they would be in a continuous, uninterrupted freefall for a full 25 seconds before hitting the bottom. 13,120 feet. Welcome to the absolute deepest human occupation milestone on the planet. This is the deepest gold mine in the world, also located in Africa. It requires an exhausting 1-hour descent just to reach the bottom. But the most important point here is that Earth's extreme heat suddenly steps in as the main antagonist of our journey. Down at this depth, the ambient rock temperature reaches a scorching, practically unbearable 66 degrees Celsius. Humans can only survive down here thanks to massive, highly engineered cooling systems constantly pumping refrigerated air from the surface. Now, to really wrap our heads around this next milestone, I want you to mentally invert these heights. Mount Everest stretches 29,000 feet up into the sky, right? Commercial airlines cruise at about 38,000 feet up, but humans have actually drilled a hole, the Kola Superdeep Borehole, that plunges 40,230 feet down into the rock. That means we have gone further down into the solid Earth than commercial planes fly up into the open sky. And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates our ultimate struggle against nature. Started by Russia in 1979 with the wildly ambitious goal of reaching the Earth's center, it took 9 years of non-stop drilling to make a hole just 23 centimeters wide. It's so unbelievably deep that dropping a ball inside would take 50 seconds just to hit the bottom. But they failed. Why? Because at 40,230 feet, the temperature spiked to a shocking 180 degrees Celsius, literally melting their drilling equipment. Nature finally defeated our toughest steel. 40,318 feet. This number right here, this is it. The absolute final limit of human spatial achievement, downwards. Breaking the Kola record in 2008, an oil company in Qatar drilled the Al Shaheen oil field to a staggering depth of 40,318 feet. To this very day, no one has gone further. This is the absolute bottom of our spatial descent. It's the ultimate record. To put that into perspective, if you walk outside and look straight up at the sky, the distance we've managed to drill down is roughly equivalent to the highest, faintest clouds you can clearly see above you. So let's put it all together. If you imagine our surface starting line and the Earth's core over 6,370 kilometers away, humanity's greatest, most extreme, absolute, record-breaking effort has only penetrated about 12 kilometers deep. That tiny sliver is all we've done. We haven't even completely pierced the skin of our planet's crust. It leaves us with a pretty profound reality check, begging the question, if a mere 40,000 feet defeated us, what unimaginable mysteries and forces are waiting down there in that untouched 99%? Thanks so much for exploring this with us, and keep questioning the world right beneath your feet.